One of my personal favorite games, not that I've written out a like top 100 or anything, but if I ever actually managed to, in the top 10 would be Roll Through the Ages by Matt Leacox. This one, even though it seems like a small box, it's got a lot to it. It's a lot of fun to play, and it plays pretty quick. Not the easiest to understand. That's why I'm going to explain it to you so you can know how to play. Here we go. Roll Through the Ages is a 1 to 4 player dice rolling resource management game that's easily upgraded to 5, possibly 6 players if you use a simple downloadable app for most smartphones and stuff like that. All you really need to play more people is additional pegboards, which that's really what the app allows you to do. Inside the box, content-wise, you're going to find one rule sheet. You're going to get a chunk of pegs that you're going to use to keep track of your resources and food and all that good stuff. 4 of these really nice, cool wooden pegboards, which is what you'll actually keep track of your resources on using those pegs. 7 dice, which you'll be rolling on your turn in order to gain your goods and resources and everything else that you're going to use during the game. And a tablet of these player sheets. Everybody is going to use one of these to keep track of your developments and monuments and all that good stuff, and ultimately your score. This also has the turn order and the explanation of all the symbols up on the upper right hand corner. Really nice because this one sheet's got everything that you need to play. To start the game off, everybody should take one of the pegboards and one of each of the colors of the pegs. They will go into the corresponding color-coded ports for those. You're going to have 5 different resources that will all start out at 0, and then you will have your food on the bottom that will actually start out at 3, which in this version of the game has a handy-dandy lighter colored indication there to let you know, yeah, you start with 3 food. The only other thing you're going to need is something to write with, so make sure you got a few writing instruments down. It's never a bad idea to throw a few spare pencils in the box for next time you play. You can decide on the starting player any way that you want, but make sure that whoever is the starting player makes a note of it on their sheet that they're the starting person. Because at the end of the game, everyone is going to get an equal number of turns. That's a star, not a pentagram, even though it looks like it from my angle. As a general overview, on your turn, you're going to start off rolling 3 dice in order to determine what goods and food and workers you're going to get to do things here and over here on this fun sheet. You get to roll Yahtzee style, so you get 2 re-rolls, and what you're stuck with at the end of the 3rd roll you have to keep. The only exception are the sides of the dice that actually has the little skull and crossbones on it. This is a disaster, and you're not allowed to re-roll this one. Once you've rolled 3 times, you're going to resolve your dice in the order indicated on your player sheet in the upper right-hand corner. First, you're going to start off by collecting goods and food. Goods are indicated by the little vase icons. Single vase on your die means you're going to get 1 good. This die, which happens to be the disaster die, also has 2 vases on it. So the good side is you're at least going to get 2 goods out of it. For every good that you've rolled, you're going to start at the lowest good, the reeds, and you're going to increase that by 1. In this case, if I had rolled myself 3 goods, I'm going to give myself 1 reed, then I'm going to move to the next good, which is stone, and give myself 1 of those. Then I'm going to move up to these pots. I'm going to give myself 1 of those. Hey, there we go. If on a later turn I managed to roll perhaps 4 more, and I rolled this situation. In this case, I'm going to start at the bottom once again and increment my goods by 4, starting by moving the reeds up by 1, then the stone by 1, then the vases by 1, and then I'm going to move up to rugs and give myself 1 of those. This is the order in which you collect goods. If you're awesome enough to collect 7 goods by chance, you would start at the bottom with reeds and give yourself 1 reed, then 1 stone, then 1 pot, then 1 rug, then 1 spear at the top, and then you would go back to the bottom and give yourself 1 more reed. That would be 6 goods, or perhaps it was I said 7. If it was 7, you would increment stone one more time. That would be your goods for it. But let's go back to our case at the start of this turn and say that I did have myself 2 goods, and I gave myself a reed and a stone. There we go. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to give yourself your food. For every grain image that you got on your dice, you're going to increase your food by 1. So with 1 die that has 3 grain on it, I'm going to gain 3 food, move myself up to 6. The next thing in player order is that you have to feed your cities and resolve disasters. You have to pay 1 food for every die that you rolled. That is, every city that you had built so far. Start of the game, you get 3 cities for free, and I haven't increased that. So for this round, I have to pay 3 food, which will move me back down to 3. I also have to resolve any disasters that I have. I rolled 1 skull and crossbones on this die, so my disaster rating is actually only 1. The effect, none. No effect. I don't have to worry about it. Just 1 is okay. If I had rolled 2 or more, some bad things start to happen. But in this case, I'm okay. If you do end up rolling a significant number of disasters, perhaps 2 of them, in that case, you have to lose 2 points. That's called drought, where you're going to lose 2 points. Down here at the bottom of the sheet is where you keep track of your disasters. If I'm losing 2 points, I'm crossing off 2 boxes saying that I have -2 points. Those are going to stay with me the rest of the game. Yes, they will haunt you, but that's just part of this game and what makes it cool. The next part, step 3, you can build more cities or build monuments. In this part, for every worker that you rolled, you're going to get to tick off one of the boxes either in your cities section or down here in your monuments. Cities you must build in order. You have to build this city before you can go build that one. Why you'd want to build that one first, I don't know, because it costs a lot more to get it. But monuments you can build in any order that you want, being aware that you don't have to build the entire thing at one time. You can chip away at it turn by turn if you like, but there's always the potential that a different player might make it past you and end up taking it. Why is that important? Because there are 2 numbers underneath each of these monuments. A bigger number with a box around it and then a smaller number next to that. The first person to actually build the monument gets the higher number of points. Anyone else who comes along afterwards and builds it gets the lower number of points. So once someone else has managed to build off something like, say I build the step pyramid right here with 3 workers. Hey, 1, 2, 3. I grab myself a point, but nobody else can get that one now. Anybody else comes along, oh, you get 0 points for second place. Sorry, sucker. In the 4th section, this is where you get to use your goods or perhaps any gold that you may have rolled in order to try to buy a development. Gold has to be used on the turn it's rolled. You can't save it for later. Goods you can stock up, gold you can't. When you sell goods, you have to sell all of a specific good at one time. You can't decide to keep part of it. Like say over the course of several turns, I actually managed to amass 5 stone. When I sell this, I can sell this for 30 gold or buying power right now if I want to. But I can't choose to sell off 10 of it and keep the other 20. If I sell it, I have to sell all of it all the way down to 0. But that gives me 30 worth of buying power that I can buy off something over here. Each development has a cost associated with it on the far left-hand side. It also gives you a certain number of points at the end of the game, plus it gives you a benefit that will last you for the rest of the game. These come in very, very handy, and we'll go over all of those towards the end. Sometimes you might have a little money, sometimes you might have a lot, but you can only ever buy 1 development on your turn. 1 and 1 only. After you've done that, then you have to see if you're in excess of goods. You're only allowed to keep a certain number of goods in your civilization to begin with, and that amount is 6 pegs worth of goods. It's going to be a little weird to understand, but say I had myself 1 reed and 2 stone and a rug and a spear. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pegs worth of goods. If on my next turn I rolled myself a couple of goods and I gained a reed and a stone, now I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goods. I have to discard or sell some of these things off. At this point I could probably look at it and say, well, in stone I've got myself 12, I got another 3 here in reeds. If I combine those and sell both of them completely, which is what you have to do, I'd have 15. I'd have enough to buy myself some handy-dandy agriculture. That's not bad. If I didn't want to sell it all off, I could discard a single good at this time. This is the only way where you're actually managed to simply move a peg down one, because all you're doing is taking it and basically throwing it out the door. They don't mind if you do that for some reason. Just to go over a couple of the dice options I haven't covered already. The coin symbol is worth 7 buying power, but you have to spend it on that turn, as I already discussed. And this symbol of 2 grain and a dash and then 2 people on it is a die roll that you can use either as 2 food or as 2 workers. I know, it's crazy, right? You keep rolling the dice and taking your turns in this manner in a clockwise fashion until one of 2 things happen. Either one person builds 5 developments, that triggers the end of the game, or if collectively all of the monuments have been built by everyone that's playing, that also triggers the end of the game. You end with an even number of turns, so on the turn that it triggers, whoever the starting player is, the game will end when the person on their right finishes their turn. So instead of the starting player starting the next turn, it will instead just be the end of the game. You count up your points, figure out who the winner is, and then go have a dance. Or some ice cream. Or something. I don't know, I'm making this stuff up. Now that you know how to play, let's cover a few of the finer points. Starting with the disasters. We first talked about food, how you needed to pay 1 food for each city that you have. One of your first disasters listed is that if you don't have enough food, you have to lose 1 point for every city that you can't feed. So if I only had 2 food to start with, and I didn't roll any food on my turn because I was busy good hoarding, then I've got to lose some points. First, you have to spend what food you have. So I would lose the 2 food that I have, but I still owe 3 food to get the rest of my cities, so now I have to take disasters for that. I mark off 3 more disasters, showing that I really do suck at this game. There's no penalty for no skulls, you don't have to worry about that. Even rolling 1 skull still isn't going to penalize you. You don't lose a point for just 1 skull. 2 skulls being rolled, this is what we talked about before with a drought, means you're going to lose 2 points. 3 skulls is actually where you get to switch this over to your opponents. You run all through the region coughing on all the other civilizations that are there and making them sick. All of your opponents have to lose 3 points, but you don't have to lose anything. 4 skulls is an invasion. Somebody, mongrel, horde, or something comes in and ravages your entire civilization and you lose 4 points. And if you can manage to roll 5, highly unlikely, but yes, it has been known to happen, this is an outright revolution. You're going to lose all of your goods, including all of the goods you just rolled. You're not going to get any of those, unless you happen to have religion. If you've got religion, you don't take any deficit from this, and in fact, everyone else suffers a revolt instead, and they lose all their goods, unless they have religion as well. Now let's talk about the real nitty-gritty when it comes to this game. The real part that involves just about all the strategy that you're going to use throughout the course of the game. And that's in the developments that you buy with your goods and your money. I'm going to go over all of these real quick. Bear in mind, don't worry, we'll get through it fast. First one, for just the cost of 10, is leadership. This is where you get to re-roll a die. You've gone through and rolled however many dice you have 3 times. You're ready to deal with whatever fate has brought you. And at the end of that, now you can go back and re-roll 1 single die 1 time. And this is actually the only time you get to re-roll one of the disasters if you have. You can choose to re-roll one of these suckers. It comes in handy. Second up is irrigation. Drought no longer has an effect on you. You can roll 2 disasters and you don't have to worry about it anymore because you don't worry about drought. You just, don't let your people drink, I guess. Agriculture is +1 per food die. Now if you roll one of these, you're getting 4 food off of it, and if you roll that one, you're actually going to get 3. Nice. Quarrying is +1 to your stone on any turn where you did collect stone. Regardless of how many you collected from your goods, you are going to increase that by 1. So if I only got 3 goods, I'd be giving myself a reed and a stone and a pot, and then from quarrying I would give myself an extra stone. Yay. But if I managed to collect 7 goods, like the situation we had before where we came all the way over here and we wrapped around, I would still give myself only 1 extra stone for that case. Even though I added 2 stone to it, I'm not going to get 2 bonus stone, only 1 bonus stone. Next up is medicine. This is where when your opponents roll pestilence and you would normally lose 3 points, you don't have to. Coinage changes the value of your coin die rolls from 7 up to 12. Now you got more money to spend on these suckers. Then there's caravans. Probably the most powerful one that's in the game, because with caravans, you don't have to discard your goods now. You don't have a 6 good limit. Unlimited number of goods that you can carry, and this can end up giving you a lot of points in the long run if you can hold on to those goods until you get enough. Religion protects you from revolt and causes revolt to affect your opponents, as we talked about earlier. Also, religion scores you the most points at the end of the game for all the developments that actually cost 20. So, kind of cost effective in that regard. Granaries allow you to sell your food on your turn for 4 gold apiece. So if you've been rolling a lot of food and perhaps you have agriculture, you want to get rid of all that excess food, then you can use that to get yourself some money. It's also good to note at this point, if you ever get to collect something and you're already at maximum in your goods or at your food, you don't get to get any extra. If you're at 14 food and you gain 6 food, well, you're only going to gain 1 because 15 is the maximum. If you're already at 4 spears and you collect another one, well, sorry, nothing. Masonry is +1 worker per worker die. So this is a lot like agriculture, but with workers. So if you roll this one, you're actually getting 4 workers out of each die, and if you roll that one, you're getting 3 workers out of it. Engineering allows you to use your stone to gain workers. You can actually spend any number of stone this way, so you don't have to spend all of your stone. You could perhaps only spend 2 of your stone. But for every stone that you go down, you're going to get to tick off 3 boxes, either in cities or disasters. If I go down 2 stone right there, I pick up myself 6 workers. Maybe enough to build myself another city and even get started on the next one after that. I didn't quite finish it, but I got there. I did finish this city though, and I'll get myself a 4th die on my next turn. The last 2 developments are ones that give you bonus points at the end of the game. Agriculture, giving you 1 extra bonus point for every monument that you built during the game. And Empire, very pricey, but very well worth it. You get 1 bonus point for every city that you have at the end of the game, including the 3 cities that you start with at the beginning of the game. In my experience, if someone is able to afford Empire, more than likely they're going to win the game. So if you ever have 60 worth of buying power between all your goods and your coins, grab that sucker. It's just worth way too many points not to. So that's the game. If you can find this sucker anywhere, get it and play it because it's a lot of fun. You also get a lot of player sheets with the game, so it'll last you a long time, and they're double-sided too. You can keep track of those and use them to wallpaper a room in your house to show everyone how awesome or how absolutely terrible you are at the game. Have fun, and until next time, keep playing.